everybody. Welcome to one episode of Towel Podcast, a podcast that is helping you get to your goals and align your core values with your daily decisions. That's very important. Today, we're going to talk a lot about money, and not only money, because money is not the important part. The important part is how we make money and how we enjoy money. So then we enjoy life. I'm very thankful because, again, we have a very special guest, Avi. We had you here already. We were talking about money and the emotions behind why people struggle with money. Today, we're going to talk a little about something different, but again, connected with the prior topic. We're going to talk about what happens when we spend money, what happens in the brain, and why we are more inclined to bad money habits. But before we get into that, let me formally say hi. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Gabo?
All good. I'm great because we're going to have another very interesting conversation, and hopefully I really wish this is also beneficial for the audience. So let's get right into the topic, which is the psychology of spending and why we tend to be more focused on the bad habits. So why do people tend to build this habits that are considered bad in terms of money?
Well, one thing that contributes is dopamine, right? So that instant gratification, right? It's like, okay, I want something, I got it instantly, right? And social media really propagates this because, there's, ads for everything. It's like you're seeing all these different things that people are putting out there like very, very quickly, right? Most people scroll pretty fast through it. So yeah, that's one of the things that propagates bad habits, the dopamine hit, and as well like just other, money they don't teach you in school. So habits that your parents had or that your elders had may have passed on to you. So yeah, I guess in a way like those are two big factors that make us like really predisposed to having bad habits around money.
So it's kind of in our DNA, right? Like if we were exposed to someone who had negative habits, we have more chances to develop or behave in that way.
Yeah.
Right?
And I would not necessarily say DNA. It's like a habit pattern, right? So I don't think we have a gene. Like there's no bad money gene, right? It's more like, okay, like the habits of the people that were around you, like you are more likely to have the same habits.
Yeah. And the dopamine is it's a very interesting chemical in the brain. I've heard many things about dopamine. So dopamine is what makes people go after pleasure, and I think that's a fascinating chemical. The dopamine has been with us forever, right?
Yeah.
And dopamine kind of push our ancestors to look for shelter, go out and hunt, get food, because by the end there was a reward, right? The reward was like extending our lifespan because we found shelter and food.
I mean, dopamine is absolutely necessary for human existence, right? I mean, as you've said, like it's what's helped us, build a society that's comfortable, right? We're not hunter gatherers anymore. We don't have to like kill our food every day anymore. So yeah, in a way, like the whole pleasure seeking mechanism and like us wired to like maximize our happiness in a way has helped us. But all good things are, good in moderation, right? Like anything could be like bad if you have too much of it, right? So some of the like quick dopamine hits you get of like, oh, you like buy something, now you feel happy, or like I don't know, like drink alcohol and you like feel calm or something. It's like you're trying to create that quick feeling or that feeling like very quickly, right? And sometimes like people can get into a loop where like they're just doing these things that give them these quick like hits of the, quick feeling of calm, quick feeling of happiness, quick feeling of whatever, but it's something that doesn't necessarily give them what they want in the long term, right? Like if they want to feel good and I don't know, they feel good if they like drink beer. Well, if you do that a lot, you just keep drinking beer, then eventually that'll have bad effects if you do it for a long period of time consistently.
Dopamine, as you said that really well, like it's needed, right? Like it's a necessary, it's a needed component in our lives. And I think this is very related to how the nervous system works. Because we are exposed, it's like this game for kids that like sometimes you're up and then down and you're moving a seesaw, right? And our nervous system works in that way, right? We are either
Hmm.
alert or we are like, right? And I think one of the disadvantages of being constantly governed by dopamine is that we don't let the nervous system stabilize, and we are constantly seeking for more and more pleasure or reward, right? Like, and that's one of the very negative aspects of social media. Now, what happens when we are tired after a long day of work? Like we kind of want a release, right? We want to feel good. And a lot of people, let's be honest, they feel good when they shop. Do you think it's a great idea to shop when you are feeling like either tired or hungry, or you feeling weird?
You know, as someone who sometimes does that myself, it's hard to say like no. Like it's hard to say yeah, you shouldn't shop at all when you feel that way. But I think it's important to minimize how much you do it, right? Like it's human nature. You're going to do it, right? You can't like completely stop it. But you can be like, oh, this I'm going to spend not any more than this money, or I'm going to purchase something maybe, like maybe this is my impulse buying budget, right? Like I'm not going to spend any more than that, right? And you can also have a rule of like, okay, if it's like, something that if I've spent more than this amount, then whatever I want to spend, I'll write it down, but then I'll think about it later when I'm feeling better and not as tired,
Yeah.
right? And then later when you come back, because that's, a lot of people that I work with, it's like, oh, they'll, write down like whatever they feel like they want to buy impulsively. I'm like, give it like 2 days, look at it 2 days later. And if you still say yes, then okay, go ahead. But many times people are like, oh no, what was I even thinking? I don't want that.
So pausing is potentially a kind of one of the cures for for this impulsive spending.
It is, but it's very hard to do, right? Because
Yeah.
our brains are wired for it, right? It's like if you've been impulsively shopping, or similar to if you've impulsively been drinking, right? It's like it's really hard to just go cold turkey and say, I'm not going to do it anymore. Like it's really hard to be like, okay, yeah, starting from like next, tomorrow, I'm not going to impulsive shop at all. That's like really hard to do, right? And then it's like when it becomes hard, like your body craves it, and then you start doing it again. So I think it has to happen in phases where it's like, okay, you have like a set amount and you won't go over that, or like, you have to have tools of like, okay, you'll like, maybe like on your phone or like on a pad or something, write down everything you want to buy, and then have this process of, oh, I'll think about it later. Because I think people get in a lot of trouble when they're like, oh, just like tie my hands, like don't do anything. It's like because our natural tendency is going to be, oh, let's break free and do that thing again, right? So it's restriction is usually something that like when you restrict yourself hard, like it's not going to work in the long term. Like it might work for a while, but it won't work in the long term. You've got to find a way to, because sometimes whatever you do want to buy, it's like something you actually want. Like sometimes you get great ideas when it's like, oh, you're feeling tired, I should have a massage chair. And it's like, oh, maybe that's a great idea. You should have a massage chair, right? But like maybe if you write that down and then you're like, oh, let me think about what type of massage chair I want. Like what features do I want? Like, you'll probably end up buying a better product
Yeah.
compared to like, it's like, oh, I just want a massage chair. Or it's like, oh, I want to buy, I don't know, like, you'll, even after you buy it, like you'll never use it. It's like, okay, like the process of writing it down, like, and if you look at it, like when you're not as tired anymore, you might look at it and say, you know what? I don't really need that. I don't want that.
Yeah.
Not that I don't need it. It's like, I don't even want it, because it's not something that is gonna you're gonna buy and it's gonna sit in your closet for like 2 years.
One of my friends in college, once he told me, life is not about what you want, it's about what you need. And a lot of times that's true. And if I may share a personal story, last week I was about to buy a set of speakers that I don't need. And I was going through the same speakers over and over, right? Like I think I started my research 3 months ago. During those 3 months, like I've been going online and I'm like, wow, like these speakers are great. And then I paused and then I was like, I don't need them. Like I already have a great speaker. Like, why? I don't really need that. So I paused for like 2 days and then I went back online and I was like, wow, but they sound amazing. And then I had to pause again to the point that I ended up trying to find a pre-owned set of speakers and I found it. I found someone who was selling the speakers I wanted. And I had already agreed with the person, like let's meet here at this time and this is going to be the final price. And right before I left the house, I had a conversation with my girlfriend and I told her, like I'll be back later because I'm going to get my speakers. and she told me like, "Are you sure you need them? Because you already have speakers." That really helped me pause again and be like, "Yeah, she's right. Like, I don't need that." So if by any chance a person that I was messaging on Marketplace is watching this, apologies. Like, I didn't
Yeah.
want to make you believe that I was gonna buy them, but I don't need them.
And that's like in the previous episode we talked about like having people around you that can help you have those conversations, right? Because if your girlfriend hadn't, if you hadn't spoken to her, or you probably would have bought the speakers,
Yeah.
right? But like someone helped you think again of like, okay, do you really need these? And like, oh, maybe I don't, right? So yeah, I think like it's very important to have people around you that help you ask those questions of, okay, do you really need this?
The community is very, very important, right? Who
It
you have
is,
around.
yeah.
And also, we discussed in a prior episode, like, I really encourage people to go back and listen to that episode. We were talking about why, in so many cases, it's not necessarily our fault that we make bad decisions. We are inclined to get attached to negative feelings instead of positive. So I think in the same way, it's kind of easier to develop bad habits, money habits, compared to, like building good habits. And maybe that's because it requires discipline. It requires a little bit more of commitment.
Yeah, it does, but I think and I think that's also a bad thing, right? Because like a lot of people are like, "Oh, this requires discipline." So it's kind of feels like it's a hard thing to do. It's like, "Oh, like to get on top of my money, I need to like be disciplined, stop having fun, like, just
Yeah.
be very like hard on like, okay, be very disciplined." And I think that type of mentality makes people lose over time because, you know, we are wired to want to have fun, want to, you know, do things that make us feel good.
Yeah.
So you can't really deny yourself of that too long. I think like, one of the things I try to do like with my company is I try to shift how people think about it. It's like, okay, think about what do you actually want anyway? And then figure out how do you like use your money to get that. I mean, not just now, but like keep getting that over time, right? Because in all, if you like make a list of every single thing you wanted like the last week, like there's probably going to be like things that will still be on the list like 2 weeks later. There might be other things that are not on that list 2 weeks later, right? So it's like you want to figure out like what is it that you really want, like right now, this stage of your life and life in general, like what do you actually want? And once you get really clear on that, then you can really make better decisions, and then it doesn't feel like it's you're being rigid, or like it's kind of like, oh, this is what I want in my life, and this decision purchasing this thing aligns with that, so I'm going to buy it. Or it doesn't align with that, so I'm not going to buy it. Or it's a small purchase, I don't do this often, what the heck, I'll just buy it.
Yeah. So if I'm getting this right, the accumulation of wealth is good or productive when that is in line with your goals.
Yes.
Not just like save because you want to save and you want to accumulate.
Yeah, well, I mean, why do you want to accumulate money? Like,
Yeah.
there has to be a reason, right? Like you want to do something with it.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's like, okay, you want to travel more, or you want to, you know, have children and you want to have like money to support that. Or, you want to start a business and, you need money to, when you're not making as much money yet, like you need money to pay your living expenses, right? So you have to have a very solid reason for why, right? Like finding your why is like a very big thing, because otherwise it's like, okay, you're going to build up money and do what with it? Like, it's like that's not really a good motivation, right? It's like, you're going to, have it in the bank, never going to go anywhere, never going to do anything, never going to meet anybody. Like, it's like, okay, what's the point, right?
Yeah. So that's also kind of another bad habit, like a bad habit of. Let me see if you agree with what I'm going to say in terms of what a good habit is.
Mm-hmm.
So a good habit is not only building wealth, but a good habit has to have a purpose, right? For a good habit to exist, yes, you need some degree of wealth accumulation, but that wealth has to be targeting something that you want in life, something that is going to make you feel fulfilled.
Oh, absolutely. If not now, like in the future, right? So I think you have to, of course, have to have more, like, you have to aim to save more than you think you need for what you're doing. Because, in the future, your desires might change, right? And, you might have more medical bills, or I don't know, right? So you need to have enough that it's like, okay, I can do what I want to do and I have some more. So I think that's very important. But I think just building money for the sake of having money. I mean, unless I mean there are people that are obsessed with like, oh, this is my net worth today, this is my net worth like
Yeah.
next year. But like, I think the average person is kind of like, okay, they want money to be able to live the life they want to live.
Mhm.
Otherwise, otherwise just having money for the sake of having money, that doesn't really do anything, I think. And even some of the people that like want to like have like money for the sake of having money, they want to have it so they can tell other people that, oh, look at how much money I have. So they also have like a reason, which is not just building money, right? I think most people don't want to like have money and don't tell anybody about it
Yeah.
because yeah, it doesn't tie into any human need.
So a good habit and a bad habit really depends on the person, right, and what they want in life. For example, someone, and we were talking before recording, we were talking about movies and art and music. Let's say there is someone who loves movies, right, and their passion is to go out to a movie theater and watch on the big screen and the great audio system the film that they want to watch. Compared to me, who I just like go sporadically and I don't really visit the movie theater that often. Maybe for me, a bad habit will be just like spending money on the theater for movies that I don't really care. But maybe a good habit for the other person who loves that is actually that, because that's kind of providing teeth to the soul, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because yeah, one person, something that's a good purchase for one person could be a bad purchase for someone else,
Yeah.
right? So if someone in your example really really likes like seeing movies in the theater, and like that's just what they want to do, then absolutely for them paying for that is good. And there are also subscriptions, I think, that like you pay a certain amount a month and you can watch as many movies as you want, right? So I think those people that like want to do that, they should figure out the cheapest way to do that. I think it's always like what I always tell people is like, okay, figure out what you want and then figure out how you can get that for the lowest cost.
Yeah.
Right? Like I have a friend who's like very into Taylor Swift, and last year during the Eras tour, she really wanted to see Taylor Swift in person. And she's like, it's so expensive. But then she figured out that she can see Taylor Swift in Germany, and if she flies to Germany, like, and stays there for 2 nights, it ends up being cheaper for her. Like, and she goes to the concert, it ends up being cheaper for her than if she like saw the concert like somewhere in the US. So it's like, okay, so for a lower price, you got to go to a foreign country, you got to spend, she didn't want to spend too much, so she only spent like 2 days there.
Mhm.
One of the days was the concert, the other day she was just roaming around like that one city in Germany, but like still, like, she saw a country, she had some local food, she went to the concert, and she had a good experience for a lower cost, right? So she got exactly what she wanted and some more, but she got it for a lower price than if she had just gotten that here.
I think, yeah, I've heard that a few times. Even I love Oasis, and this rock band is getting together again. I was watching the prices for the concerts here in the US. They are very expensive. So I've
Mhm.
been considering going to a different country that is cheaper. I mean, you got to take into consideration the cost of the flight and all that. But
Yeah.
as you said, like sometimes it ends up being cheaper and it
Oh,
gives you
yeah.
like more satisfaction, gives you like an added benefit.
It does. And I think a lot of millennials and Gen Z are like really getting on that train and figuring that out of like, oh yeah, like especially for concerts, it's like just recently I was at like a friend's party and like a friend wanted to, was planning to see Coldplay, and he's like El Paso, Texas, he's like has the cheapest tickets. He's like much cheaper. He's like who wants to go to El Paso? And I was telling him about like, because I spent some time in McAllen, Texas, near the Mexican border.
Mhm.
So I told them what border towns are like a little bit, like, what the culture is a little, culture is like, how the food, like if they get Mexican food there, it's more authentic. It's all stuff that's like, oh, that's interesting, but he would have never even thought about experiencing that if he had not been like, let me find a cheaper way to see, Coldplay.
Yeah.
Because he said even with the flight, it's cheaper than if he sees it here.
Yeah, that's insane. But that's how it works. You just got to find a way out.
Yeah, so that's a good money habit, right? It's like really like figuring out what do you want, and then figuring out, okay, how do you get that? Be creative. How do you get that for the lowest price? And it's hard to do that when you're just impulse buying because you're not really considering all that, right? You're just like, oh, I want to buy this.
So in summary, bad habits can be transmitted from prior knowledge depending on like how we grew up, but also bad habits are determined by our biology and how
Yeah.
we are exposed to certain chemicals in the brain. And a good way to start building good habits is by determining what we really really want, what aligns with our values, with what we really enjoy, and make strategies from there.
hmm Yeah, 100% agree with that.
Perfect. Avi, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for being here. And before we go, uh, please tell the audience like what is what you do and how they can find you.
Sure. So I am a personal finance coach. I have a company called Eufinance. So it's a combination of the words euphoria and finance. So all about helping you achieve happiness through smart financial management. So right now I offer one-on-one coaching. I'm also working on a web application where you track your spending and your emotions, how you feel about it. So you can look at analytics, not just for the money side of it, like how you spent, but also how you felt about it. So you can see if you got happier over time or sadder over time. So yeah, and yeah, you can find me on my social media handles at Eufinance on TikTok or Instagram. You can also find me on LinkedIn with just my profile, Avi Kapadia. And yeah, you can also find me on eufinance.com.
Thanks so much, Avi. Really appreciate all the insights that you share with us. And
Thanks for having me,
thanks.
Gabo.
It's totally my pleasure. At the same time, that is my pleasure that you guys are here with us. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.